Hello students or pupils, those who are studying computer studies in Zambia. This is Dr. Mrimbi. This is lesson 2 on hardware. I remember the first tutorial we had, we are looking at the most important components of the computer, and that is the hardware, where we discussed it into details. So now today we'll continue looking at hardware, and then later on I'll also discuss with you software. So now we are going to look at the hardware, which is called as the scanner. Now if is to look at our notes here, what is a scanner? Now first we need to understand to say like a photocopier, an optical scanner called a scanner is a light sensing device that scans images, printed text, handwriting, or an object and converts it into digital image instead of a hard copy. Now here what we are saying is that a photocopier is a machine which is used to photocopy images which are hard copy, and then it will convert to another hard copy. Now the difference between a photocopier and a scanner is that a scanner will copy the hard copy and then keep this file into electronic file. Now we look at the other point which says, since text and images are captured as a single digital image, the image cannot be changed. Now we need to go back again to look at our work on the types of data. Now in this case what we are saying is that if you look at the types of data that is found in a computer, types of data that is found in a computer, we discussed to say in the first tutorial is that text, these are letters and numbers. We have also audio or sound, which is maybe, let's say, music. Then in this case we have got video, we have got images and pictures. Now if we understanding a scanner will only deal with data which is called text and also images. A scanner will not deal with data which is called audio or sound or videos. So now here, that's why they are saying like a photocopier. A photocopier is a machine which only deals with hard copy. For example, like you have a photo you want to photocopy, you have maybe any document, a letter you want to photocopy. So now the difference between the photocopier and the scanner is that the photocopier will have a hard copy, and then the output also will be still have hard copy. For a scanner we have hard copy, and then it will go into electronic file. So now it uses a system which is called an optical. That right we are able to see in case if maybe you have ever seen a scanner or a photocopier. This optical sensing light captures the images on our hard copy which are transformed into electronic files. So now here we are also going to understand to say that such hard copy files which are scanned, that is include data which is called the images, and also data which is includes as the printed text. So images will be scanned using a scanner, printed text can also be scanned using a scanner, or something maybe which is handwritten. Handwritten means that you either use, let's say, a crayon to do some hard work, or you use a ball pen to write a letter, write something, do some mathematics, or any kind of work you do with your hand using any writing media. Then we are saying also an object. For example, like you have a leaf can be pressed into the tray of the scanner here, and then it can be scanned into electronic file. So now what we are saying is that it now becomes a digital image instead of hard copy. Now for us students at junior secondary school to understand properly how a scanner operates, I am going to show you a clip about Mike.
Hello, my name is Aaron.
So Mike, if you look at the clip which is on our screen here, students, we are able to see the computer system that is the monitor, we have the mouse there, we have the keyboard, we have the user. A user is a person who is operating the computer. His name is Mike here. We have the gadget here, or the device we are discussing today, or we want to know how it works. This is what we call the scanner. So now let us see what Mike tells us next.
And he wants to use my Epson scanner, 4490 photo scanner, to scan his photos, put them online, distribute them, share them, and put them on hard media so they'll last forever. So I wanted to walk him through exactly how to use it, and in the process of walking him through it, we thought, why not record it, distribute it for everyone? So this is my Epson 4490 scanner. These are the old photos. And I'm going to go ahead and start walking you through the software on exactly how to preview and scan photos. So as you'll see, for the photos, it's always 600 dpi, all set photo. So photos, it's always previewing photos. We can go ahead and preview the photo.
Okay, so now, pupils, here the computer is on. Then you are also able to see that on our scanner the tray is open, and then somewhere here where there's my mouse pointer here, you are able to see some photos. I remember in the first tutorial we have been discussing about hard copy, so we are able to see untouch. This is a photo for Mike, which is going to be converted into electronic file. So now let us wait and see what Mike demonstrates to us on how a scanner is used.
Preview photos, it's always good to first make sure you have the photos cleaned up. Since these aren't my photos, these are my friend's photos, I'm going to be rather ginger with them. So you take the soft chamois, you just wipe off the dust, make sure that you have all the dust and hairs wiped off each of the photos. Dust and hairs are magnified when scanning, and the magnification of dust and hairs makes for a rather poor scan. Trust me, I've done it. We also do the same to the scanner bed. It's important to get any fingerprints off, get any dust, hair off of the dog sheds. Important to make sure you have none of that on the scanner bed. What you do is you go ahead, you flip the photos over, put them on the scanner bed. With this particular photo scanner, I can do multiples, which is good because this is a laborious, tedious project. So we close up the scanner bed. I'm going to click the thumbnail and click preview. This allows us to see exactly what and will still keep the very quality scan, which actually looks very good. We can go ahead and this is always a good idea because I'll click preview. This allows us to.
Okay, now we are about to see the Mike has commanded the scanner, or let's say on the computer system. You can either command from the scanner or you can command from the computer system. And then what we are seeing here, it is a progress to show us that the photos which are hard copy are now going to be modified, or let's say changed or converted into electronic file. Let us see next.
Without having to commit the photos to memory. This is always a good idea because the actual scanning process.
Thank you, students. The green progression we are seeing here, this is to show that the scanner has now started converting these hard copy files or documents into electronic file.
Take longer than the preview process, and it's always a good idea not waste.
Okay, so now these are what we call the scanned electronic files. Now they are now coming from what we call hard copy into electronic file. Let us see what is next.
So we can go ahead and flip the images, make sure they are exactly what we thought they would be. We have two black and white images here, which actually look very good. So this is why 24-bit color will still keep the good, and that looks really good as well. I just mean I'm going to scan them into memory. So we are seeking looking at the compliance.
Okay, so now the other green progression there shows to say that now this is you are now finally scanning the document to the computer system. The first part we saw was just to preview what you wanted to scan, so that you can make some adjustments in case you want to resize the picture, or maybe you want to select this picture, or you want to select this picture. So now here what has happened is that Mike now, as after rotating the picture which was on the other side, in terms of the head was facing the other side, then it has been rotated to the where we are supposed to see it properly. Then he has confirmed that it is now ready to be scanned. So now this is the final scanning, so that this hard copy document can be now electronically on the computer system. Let us see. Okay, so this is actually how a scanner works. So we have what we call the hard copy. This hard copy can be either photos, for example, like what we saw here, or printed text, like what we discussed earlier on, or handwritten documents, which is hard copy, then which are going to be put into the scanner tray and then commanded. So then the scanner converts these hard copy documents into electronic files. So Mikey, thank you very much for demonstrating this on how to use a scanner for us, so that children are able to understand. Now we can now go back here to our notes here. So now what we are saying is that since text and images are captured as a single digital image, the image cannot be changed. So the image comes out as a picture. We cannot tamper with it, although we are going to discuss down here. So what we are saying is that today most scanners have optical, that is optical character recognition. In short, this one stands for as OCR. Optical, that is the light we see when the scanner has been commanded, that light which captures the characters, or let's say the image. A character, what we are saying is that characters are images which you are scanning. So a scanner has this facility which is called optical character recognition, which is a software which allows the scanner to read and convert. Now to read is to detect. So when the pictures or any document or hard copy is loaded into the scanner and is commanded, the scanner has the capability of reading. Then after reading, then it has to convert that text documents into electronic file. Now when we say electronic file, this word, the other word for this one is or for this word is what we call a soft copy. A soft copy is this is a copy we are able to see with our eyes, but we are not able to touch it. So the other word you can use for electronic is the word soft. So electronic files means that soft files. So what we are saying is that according to what the demonstration of Mike there, we had what we call hard copy, and then it has been converted into electronic files. So in the first place, Mike was able to touch and hold his photos and able to load them into the tray of the scanner here. Now this time Mike cannot be able to touch his photos when they are on the screen of the computer, but is able to see them. So now these photos, when they are scanned, Mike is able to share them with other people in case if it's online, that is maybe on Facebook, or maybe Twitter, or maybe on an email, or maybe with the University of Zambia, if it to say he has been asked to send some photos to University of Zambia. So it is very easy that this time now you are able to send something which is hard copy. Instead of maybe going to the Zambia post services, you go there and maybe buy a stamp, be on the queue. Now this time life has been made clear, this is easy. You just need to have a scanner and a computer system, and then scan your documents, and then if it to say maybe you are scanning them, or you are sending your documents to maybe let's say USA, or maybe Korea, or Japan, or South Africa, or Botswana, they will simply go into just in 2 seconds. The receiver or recipient will be able to see the files which you want to send. Now going further to look at what a scanner, this scanner operates, what we are saying is that these electronic files, now what we are saying, electronic files, this is what now what we are able to see, but we are not able to touch. When the hard copy is converted into electronic file, it means that A hard copy we are able to touch, electronic file we are not able to touch. So can be modified. Now we need to understand, what does the word modify mean? This word means to change it, or means to convert it. So this word can be said to be either to change or to convert. That is using a word processor. Now when we say a word processor is a program I'm using for me to present this lesson to your students. So this is a word processor which has various tools which can make us to change or modify this scanned image. Now to understand this one here, I'm going to maybe demonstrate to you or show you how a scanned document can be changed. So we are going to look at some of the scanned documents which we have done in our, for example, like in this case, I'll check on the this is the, okay, thank you students. We are able to see it says Oxford Progress in Business Studies 9. So this document was a scanned document. So if I want to change this document, I should convert it to word processor so that I'll be able to make some changes on whenever I want to make changes. So now students, what we are seeing here, it is a scanned document which can be modified by taking it to word processor. Here it is being displayed under picture. So when it is under picture, you cannot do anything to it, you cannot make any changes unless it is converted into a word processor. So that's when the word processor will have tools which can allow you as a user to make some changes. Thank you. So now we go back to our work. So what we are saying is that by maybe scanning these documents, this one we are saying this saves the time because you do not have to retype your document. For example, like this work which we are running here, this was a book which was scanned, and then we did some manipulation, and then we are able to edit, and we are able to see what we are supposed to remove or maybe add. So now what we are saying is that the resolution of a scanner is measured in pixels. I remember in the first lesson when we were looking at the hardware called monitor, we discussed to say that we are going to discuss the word resolution and the word pixels in detail as we look at the topic of multimedia in the other tutorials to come. So in this case, what we are saying is that the resolution of a scanner is measured in pixels per inch. That is in abbreviation as PPI, written as 600 by 400 PPI, for example. Now what we are saying here, the 600 value refers to the number of bits per pixel. Now the word bit, we are also going to understand this one when we are going to be looking at the capacity of the hard drive or computer memory. That is when we are going to understand the meaning of the word bit. For today, let us just say that here the 600 value refers to the number of bits per pixel, and the 4800 value refers to the number of pixels per inch. Thank you very much. So now that is how a scanner is used. We have seen how Mike has demonstrated. First, you need to have what we call a computer system. Then a scanner is connected to the computer system. Of course, the scanner also should be connected to the power source. And then hard copy documents you want to scan are loaded into the tray here and then commanded. These hard copy files are converted into electronic files. And then a user can still go ahead to modify the scanned images using an application which is called word processor. For example, this is the word processor program which has various tools to work with any scanned document after it has been converted into this format. So now this is an application which is called a word processor. We are able to use it and then modify the document we have discussed. Thank you, learners. Now we are going to look at the other hardware. What we said is that hardware, these are components of the computer which are either internal means that which are found inside the system unit, or external, which are connected on the computer outside. Now we are going to look at the other important hardware which is called uninterruptible power supply. Uninterruptible power supply. So now, can learners say uninterruptible power supply? Okay, say it again, children. Uninterruptible power supply. Thank you. So now, in short, U is here, this is P is there, and AC. So you may also say as the UPS. Now the picture we are able to see here is for an uninterruptible power supply. So what we are saying is that an uninterruptible power supply, which is UPS, connects between a computer and the electrical outlet for protection. Now students, for us to understand on how the UPS works, so we need to look at a diagram which I have for you here. Thank you very much. We are all able to see the diagram which I have for you here. On our diagram here, we have the computer system. The computer system consists of, we have the monitor there, the system unit, we have the keyboard, we have the mouse, and here, this is written as the computer system. Then we have cables to computer system from UPS. These are power cables, which are running from the UPS, which is an uninterruptible power supply, supplying power from the UPS to the computer system. And then here, this is the power source where power is being tapped by the UPS. Then we are able to see the power cord. This is an example of a power cord. These are just drawn lines, but they are supposed to look like the real one, which is like this one. So this one we are saying it is a cable from power source to UPS. Now, children or students or pupils at the junior secondary school, this is how the UPS works. So what you do is that you need to have what we call the power source, where we have electricity running, and then we need to have a cable which connects from the power source to the UPS, which is called the uninterruptible power supply. And then from the UPS, we need to have the two cables which will connect the computer, which is the monitor and the system unit. Now, how does the uninterruptible power supply work? This UPS, it is more like a battery for a laptop. A laptop can be used even when there's no power, as long as there is a battery. So in other words, what we are saying is that an uninterruptible power supply, it is also called a battery. Now, how does this uninterruptible power supply work? When power, let's say for example in Zambia, when power has gone, that is, let's say ZESCO, power has gone, then this uninterruptible power supply will keep power to make sure that this computer does not go off. Because what we know is that the computer, for example, like a desktop, once the power, if it is gone, then the computer also will be what? Will be off. So now the work of the UPS is to keep the user, save his or her work within 5 to 10 minutes. Then from there, the computer will be shut down with all the work saved nicely without losing any work. If, for example, what we are trying to say is that if this UPS is not connected between the power source and the computer, if power goes here, a user here will lose his or her work, because power will not warn this person to say that I'm about to go. So the computer will shut down automatically when the power goes. Now, the work of the UPS is that when the power here goes, the UPS will keep the power, which will allow the user on the computer system here to save his or her work, which can be now maybe seen later when the power has come. So now, in this case, what we are saying is that the UPS only allows the computer user to just maybe run the computer for 5 to 10 minutes. Of course, I may mention that maybe nowadays the UPS or an uninterruptible power supply can maybe save, or can allow the user to use the computer for maybe 2 hours. For example, like the laptop battery can allow the user, if it is a new laptop, it can allow the user to work on the computer or the laptop or for 4 hours. So we hope so maybe modern UPS are like that, but old UPS only allows 5 to 10 minutes. The user has to save his or her work nicely and shut down the computer so that work is not lost. So now, children, generally this is how the UPS works. So now, looking at our notes which you are supposed to study, then I'll be able to explain. So now what we are saying is that a surge in electricity. Now we need to understand what does the word surge mean. The word surge mean when power is flowing to your device and then it goes just in a short period, then it comes back again. You have ever seen this situation happening at your homes or where, maybe at your barber shop, at your salon, maybe you are watching a video, just maybe unexpectedly you see power going at, oh, bright your end, oh, bright your brother. So that short power failure, it is what we call as a surge. So a short of power failure, it is called a surge. Power will go and it will come back just in short. Now what we are saying is that a surge in electricity can cause damage to delicate electronics in a computer. Some of you here, children, you have complained about to say, no, our fridge was blown off, our TV was blown off, our radio system was blown off, our computer was blown off. But they are not good people. They have made our fridge not to be working because of that surge. So now, automatically, mainly, what we see that when there's a surge in electricity, our devices, for example, like television sets, fridges, they are damaged. So, a power surge, what we are saying is that a power surge occurs when the incoming electrical power rises above the normal power. So now this is where we are saying that when this power goes and then it comes back in a short period, it will come with high voltage, causing maybe your television to be blown off or your computer to be blown off. So now users, we know for sure that a user is a person who is operating the computer. Users connect an interruptible power supply, which is the UPS, between, that is, their computers and the UPS. Connects between electrical outlet for electrical computer, okay, that is the computer and the protection. Now what we can go back to our diagram here. What we are saying is that a user will connect the UPS between the power source and also the computer system, so that in case there is power failure here with the electricity, the power utility company, then the user may not lose his or her work. Instead, the UPS will allow the user to save or to save his or her work nicely. So that is what we are trying to look at here, children. Now let's go back to our notes here. What we are saying is that, so UPS or an interruptible power supply connect electrical outlet for, that is, for between your computer and the protection power supply. The UPS not only protects against power surge, it provides battery backup power to the computer during a permanent or temporary, that is, permanent or temporary power failure for a limited amount of time. So now what we are saying is that if you look at the picture of our setup of the UPS, so now it is connected. So the UPS here will protect our gadgets from being blown off, and also it protects a user to save his or her work in a normal way, than maybe complain to say, no, my work has gone because power has just been or interrupted or power has gone. So those are the two uses of the UPS. So what we are saying is that the two uses of the UPS are, it will protect the computer system from being blown off, and also it will allow the user to save his or her work maybe between, that is, 5 to 10 minutes. The user has to log out from there. Thank you very much. So now what we are saying is that, children, under hardware we still have some other tutorials which are to come. For today we have discussed about the scanner. What we are saying is that a scanner is a device which converts hard copy documents into electronic or digital files. That is a scanner. Mike was able to demonstrate on how a scanner is used on that one. Then we have also looked at the work of an interruptible power supply. We are saying it has two uses. One, it is to protect our computer systems from being blown off, or let's say even at home, if we have got a television, power will go and will come back with high voltage. That power may end up blowing off the computer system or the television set. Then the other use of the UPS is that it acts as a battery. When power goes like that, the UPS will be like a battery. It will allow the user on the computer system to save his or her work. Thank you very much. So that was about the scanner and the uninterruptible power supply. That is that for that one. Then children, we are now going to look at what we call software. Now, if you look at the computer system, what we are saying is that if you look at the computer system, we are going to look at something like this. So what we are saying is that we are going to look at the computer. We are going to look at the computer. We look at the computer. So now what we are saying is that this is the computer. Then we are going to have our arrow there. We are also going to have our arrow there. Now this computer, it is a system. So what we are saying, we are trying to look at to say that this system is being operated by the software. Okay, let me do this, students. Okay, we do this. This computer is being operated by the software. So we are going to look at our arrow like that, and then have the word software there like that. So what we are saying is that this is our computer. So in this case, what we do is that we can have this got from here and taken this side. Let's do this a bit. So what we are saying is that we have our computer system here, which is this. Okay, then we look at the word software. Then we have also another arrow there. Then we have what we call here, that is the hardware. We have what we call here, that is the software. Now what we are saying is that this is what we call the computer system. This is the computer system. This computer, it is being operated by the software. Then this software, it is in two, or there are two types of software. So what we are saying is that we are going to have now our arrow there, then another arrow there. Now in our first tutorial, we had discussed about hardware. We said these are parts of the computer we are able to see and touch, so of which we have discussed on some of the parts. Then we will be discussing some other parts as we go on in other tutorials during your course for junior secondary school. So now, at the moment, we are now discussing on software. So we are going to look at it to say we have what we call the system software, of which I'll be able to, let's say, let me drag this work there. Then also we have what we call the application software. Okay, thank you. So now what we are saying is that the other name which can be also used for system software is it is called operating system. First, let me just move this. I drag this. Okay, we can type like this. So what we are saying is that the other name which can be used for the system software is the operating system. So now what we are saying is that we have the computer there, which is our picture we are seeing here. This, what we are seeing here, it is what we call hardware, which is this word which is here. So this is the system unit. We have the monitor, we have the keyboard and the mouse there. This is called hardware. Then what we are seeing as blue there on our screen, that is what makes this computer now to work, or what we call programs or instructions. Now, these instructions or programs, it is what we call software. Now, there are two types of software. We have got what we call the system software, operating, which is also called the operating system. Then we have also what we call application software, of which now it will be discussed in details in this lesson. Thank you very much, students. I hope you understand this part here. So we go this side. So now, what we are saying is that software also called a program. So now, the other word for software is the word program, like we mentioned here. So we said what we are seeing there, these are programs which tells the hardware, which tells the hardware is these things we are able to see, which tells the hardware what to be done, or the task to be done. Thank you very much. We look at here. So we are saying the other word for the word software is a program. So now we are saying is a set. Now, set last time we said a group of instructions. A group of instructions. A set of instructions that tells the computer and its devices. What are devices? These are gadgets we are able to see and touch what to do. So now, this program which we are not able to see, a software we are not able to, or a software, sorry, we are able to see, but we are not able to touch. So now, it gives instructions to the hardware which we call the devices. Now, the hardware cannot function without software. A good example which will be given is that you may have a phone, you may have, or let's say, a SIM card. Now, of these two here, one cannot work separately. So you need to have a phone and a SIM card together for the phone to operate. So you may have a phone without a SIM card, it cannot work. Equally with the computer. So what we are saying is that for this computer to operate, we need to have what we call hardware. Okay? We need to have what we call the software. Now, that software, we need to have what we call system software and the application software. So now we go back to our notes. So what we are saying is that the hardware cannot function without the software. So that is the simple term we are saying. The parts we are able to touch and see here cannot work without the software. The blue part we are able to see. Software is these are instructions we are able to see but we cannot touch. So the hardware cannot function without the software. Students, thank you. We move together. So examples of software are Windows Media Player. So now what we are saying is that we can now understand this by looking at this work. So now on our pictures here we are able to see this is something you have been seeing, something you see whenever you are playing music, or let's say this is an MP3 audio you are playing. So this is an application software, okay, called Media Player. Then we are also able to see this is an example of the word processor, like the one I'm using for me to present this lesson to you students in in junior secondary school. This is the word processor. Then we have got also WinZip. WinZip is also a software. So in this case, what we are saying is that these are some of the examples. Although we have numerous softwares in the world. Numerous means that there are so many softwares in the world which are out there. Depending on what you want to install on your computer. Then if, for example, like you are in the music industry, you look for softwares which can work with you for the music. In case maybe you are in the engineering industry, you look for softwares which can suit your engineering industry. So in this case, what we are saying is that what I'm trying to shake here, this is what we call the Windows Media Player. It's a software. Then this is a word processor. It's also a software. This is a WinZip, which is also a software. Thank you very much. So now we go ahead. What we are saying is that examples of softwares, this include, or we have what we call, from what we have just seen there on our pictures, Windows Media Player. We have also Microsoft Office. This is a suite, of which that one which I showed on the picture there is just as a part of the Office, which is called word processing. We have also WinZip, which I've also showed you. And then we have also softwares which are called computer games. Now, for example, like in this case, we'll be able to look at it. This is a game which says choose a girl. So this is a software a game. This is a software. So now we go ahead to look at it. Here it says there are two types of software, namely system software and application software. Now what we are saying is that there are two types of software. So in this case what we are saying is this is the web software as one. These are instructions or programs which tells the hardware what to do. Now there are two types of software. We have got what we call the system software, and also we have what we call the application software. Now the other word for system software, it is also called the operating system. Now we go back to our notes. Here we are saying system software controls and coordinates the operations of the computer and its devices. So now if you look at the picture here, the system software coordinates. To coordinate is to put things together so that they work in harmony, there is no problem. So it coordinates the devices. Devices means that the things we are able to see, or the components of the computer are able to see and touch. So the system software coordinates the devices so that they work together. Thank you. So now what we are saying is that the system software controls and coordinates the operations of the computer and its devices. Let us move on, the students. Now we are going to look at the part which says this system software serves as an interface between the user and the application software and the computer hardware. So now we need to understand what does the word interface mean. The word interface in this case means let's say for example we have the user here. Okay, we have the user here. This is the user. Okay, this is the user. So we say this is the user. Now this user, for this user to operate this computer, we need an operating system, which operating system coordinates or helps the user and the hardware for the work to be done. So that is what we are trying to look at, children. So we are saying the operating system serves as an interface. So now an interface, it is the middle part, interface between the user. A user is a person who is operating the computer and the application software. We are going to discuss this one in detail, or we are going to discuss the difference between a system software and the application software and the computer hardware. So now in this case what we are saying is that we are saying it acts as let's say as an interface, that is between, as an interface, let me change the color, or as an interface, we can do like that, and also between the user. Then also we understand the word application software and also computer hardware. So now what we are saying is that the operating system will work as an interface. An interface is something which is on the middle, trying to connect, that is the user, also connecting application software and also computer hardware to work together. So that is the work of the operating system. So now what we are saying is that operating systems such as Windows and Linux are examples of system software. We have also Apple. So now in this case what we are saying is that we can look at the examples of the operating system. So this is the Windows operating system, this is the Linux operating system, and then we have operating systems also which is called Unix. We have also like Ubuntu. We have also Macintosh, which is Apple operating system. Thank you. So now we go back to our work. What we are saying is that an application software is written to perform a specific task. Okay, it is developed to make the user more effective, efficient in his or her everyday work. So now we are going to look at the difference between the system software and application software. The system software, the work of the system software is to coordinate, that is the hardware, the user and application software. what we are saying is that the work of the system software is to coordinate the hardware, the user, and application software. So in this case, what we are saying is that, if I may just maybe open it, or we may say we can save this one, we give it a name as system software, so that we may be will be able to use it next time we want to use it. So now what we are saying is that we are looking at this part which says we are going to look at which the difference between operating system and also application system. So in this case, what we are saying is that we may do our work like this. So we look at the system software, system software, and then we have also what we call application, okay, application software, okay, like that. Then we are also looking at the user. We are looking at the user, okay. Then the other part we are looking at also is let's do this, that is the devices, okay. So now in this case, what we are saying is that we are going to look at the word interface. We look at also the word interface. So in this case, we are going to do this. We can get this our word as system software, and then we can show it like this to say this acts as an interface for the application, that is the application software, of which also we can maybe do like this, then we can also do like that, we can also do like that, and then we show to say this is how the operating system works. So in this case, what we are saying is that it is found on the middle, that is the word interface. It is found on the middle. It coordinates and controls. So that's where we have now the word it coordinates and controls. So in this case, what we are saying is that out of here we are saying it coordinates. It coordinates, okay, coordinates and controls. So we have controls like that. Thank you very much. So now the work of the system software or operating system is to coordinate and control the application software, the devices, and the user. So it is the main body of the software. Now the work of the application software is to help the user. We are saying the work of the application software is to help the user do tasks. Okay, we are going to use the word do tasks. Do tasks. So now we are going to show it like this. That is the work of the application software. The work of the application software is to help the user do the tasks. Now what are these tasks? For the example, like for example, we are going to we may give so many good examples. What are these tasks? For example, like we may say the first one can be typing a letter, using word processor. So what we do is that we are looking at how the application software is used. Okay, let me just check for, I want to reduce the font here, or maybe let me just add it like this. Okay, we can show it like this to say the work of the application software is to help the user type a letter. Then the other one, for example, we may say SLAP D or Mark II. We look at SLAP D in a studio. SLAP D in a studio doing some musical production. So then the other one we can say, for example, like a miner at Kansanshi mine or at KCM in Chingora, KCM. So now, children, what we are looking at is that the work of the application software is to help the user do tasks. Examples on these tasks we do on our computer is that, for example, like SLAP D, our musician in Zambia, is always found in the studio. He uses the computer to complete his tasks using the application software. Then, for example, like, let's say Mr. Ziba is typing a letter to University of Zambia. He's going to type a letter using application software, which is maybe in this case we say Word. Then also, we are saying a miner at KCM may use also a computer, maybe to see how the mine is making its profit. So now, the job of the application software is to do tasks which the user commands. Now, the system software just helps the application software to operate. Now, in this case, what we are saying is that this software here, this one does not come with the computer system when you are buying a new computer. Mainly, for example, like Microsoft Office, and also maybe, for example, like, let me show you a software like maybe this one here. A software like this one here does not come with a computer. This one which is about to open, this software which is just opening here, this one does not come with a computer. This one you buy it separately. For example, you buy separately. This is the software which SLAP D may use in the studio. Okay, so it is called an application software. This is called an application software. So, of which SLAP D or Mark II, Tishon, they'll be there in the studio there making some music. So, what we are saying is that this is called an application software. It does not come with the computer. Okay, thank you very much. So we go back to our work there. So now what we are saying is that we are looking at the work of the application software. There's a difference between system software, which is also called operating system, and also application software. For application software, it does not come with the computer system. Any computer you buy as new computer, it is going to have what we call the system software. And then the other software we are going to look at is also what we call utility, which will be discussed later into or in other tutorials as we go on. So now we go back to our work here. So what we are saying is that application software is written to perform a specific task is a type of task. It is developed to make the user more efficient, effective, and efficient in his or her everyday work. So, for example, like we have discussed about SLAP D in the studio is using an application software. Let's say mine at KCM is used, or he or she is using an application software, and some other application softwares which we use. For example, like Mr. Ziwa typing a letter to University of Zambia, is there going to use an application software. So there's a difference between operating system or system software and application software. Application does not come with a computer. You need to buy it separately, and make sure that as you buy from shops which are genuine, not from the black market. So now, in this case, what we are saying is that there are many types of application softwares, like what we have discussed there, such as accounting, spreadsheet, word processing, educational or photo editing software to assist the user in performing a variety of work-related tasks. So now, there are so many application softwares which helps the user, who is this one, to do the tasks. So now in this case, what we are saying is that I'll just pass through this very fast. We are saying Examples of types of application softwares are word processing software, which enables the user, a user is a person operating the computer, to create word processing software enables the user to create, edit, print text, documents. Examples of these word processing software are Microsoft Word, for example, like the one I'm using here to present this session to you, and also Corel WordPerfect. Then the other example of an application software is a spreadsheet software, which enables users to organize data. We know data now this time. By this time now, people will understand what data is. In rows and columns. It provides a variety of tools to perform calculations. Examples of this spreadsheet or spreadsheet software are the Microsoft Excel and the Google Spreadsheet. Then we also look at database software, which enables users to store. A database software enables users to store and also manipulate and retrieve data. We now understand what does the word data mean. Examples of this software is Microsoft Access, Oracle database. Now, graphics software, which enables users to develop that is the graphs, illustrations, and the drawings. Examples of these graphic softwares are Adobe Illustrator. Then, for example, also we have Adobe Freehand. Then we also look at project management software, which enables users to plan and schedule projects. It is also used to allocate and control people and resources such as money and time. Examples are Microsoft Project and Open Project. So now, children, this is where we are going to end for today. So now, in the next tutorial, we are going to look at data in details. We need to understand what is that data, and also we are going to look at first that's data on that one, then later on we'll be looking at parts of the computer. So it has been very nice to be with you, children. So now, just to wrap up on our lesson which we have discussed today, we started with looking at what we call as a scanner, where we saw Mike demonstrating to us what this scanner or how this scanner is used. We also went ahead to look at an interruptible power supply, of which some demonstrations were shown, and now I hope by this time now you understand the work of the UPS. Then we have also discussed about software. Software, what we have said is that these are instructions or programs that tells the computer what to do or hardware what to do. We have also discussed about the two types of software, that is the system software, which is also called operating system. Then we also discussed about the application software. Then we had some illustrations on how the difference between application software and the system software. So I wish you all the best as we meet in the second or the other tutorial. This has been Dr. Mbimbi with you. Thank you very much. God bless you.